go the holier than thous.
That's right.
Steps up and delivers a 50-50 ball. What a catch by Olave.
Rescue reports that he is on his way to the Milwaukee Bucks.
He's not getting his happy ending this time.
Okay, Week 18 NFL, some great games, and then, of course, some games that did not matter at all. Let's break them down, though. Zach, start with you, like we always do. Closest game of the week. What was your closest game this week?
My closest game of the week, it was the Rams and the 49ers, actually. It was a 21-20 kind of game, and the Rams, neither one of these teams really played their starters, but the Rams had an incentive to win this game because I think they feel better about going to Detroit trying to win that game as opposed to they would have gone to Dallas had they lost. So, backups aplenty, but Puka Nacua sets the rookie receiving record. And, for San Francisco, this game meant virtually nothing to them, but for the Rams, it was a big deal. And so this was the closest game of the week.
Yeah, I'm going to go Dolphins-Bills. Another really, like I said, there were a lot of close games this week, a lot of games to pick from, but Dolphins-Bills, I'm going to go with that game. We knew it would be a good game going into it, and it definitely was. Tale of two halves, really. Bills did not really play it very well in the first half, played awesome in the second half, 14-0 in the second half. Defense shut down Miami in the last two quarters as well. Miami is one of the best second half scoring teams in the league, but Bills were able to shut them down. Buffalo was able to shut down Miami's offense. Dolphins punted on 4 consecutive possessions. That's the first time that occurred all season long for the Dolphins. And 3 of those 4 possessions were 3 and outs. So, just absolute domination by the Bills in the second half. Of course, Josh Allen doing heroics at the end of the game to lead the team to victory. Of course, the 95-yard punt return by Deontay Hardy did not hurt either. And Dolphins only back to defense for the Bills. Dolphins only totaled 47 yards of total offense on the second half. So a really, really good second half by the Bills. Looked really anemic in the first half, but the second half is what matters, especially as we lead and head into the playoffs now next week. Really, really good 2 quarters to build on for the Bills. Justin, what was your closest game?
I'll go Colts-Texans. That was a close game, obviously, and C.J. Stroud with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, 264 yards. Jonathan Taylor, though, with a big running attack for the Colts, 30 carries for 188 yards and a touchdown run. But a very close win for the Texans as they take the AFC South with the Jaguars losing.
Yeah, Nico Collins had a really good game too. Of course, I think Nico Collins, he caught all of 9 of his targets for 195 total yards on the game and a touchdown, of course. Both players were just locked in and played absolutely amazing and just couldn't stop them at all. And Colts just couldn't make the plays when it mattered at the end of the day. And 1 in 11 on third downs, and of course, they failed to convert the only 4th down they attempted as well. So Colts just weren't really firing, couldn't really get the first down, and Nico Collins and C.J. Stroud looked absolutely electric going into the playoffs. Most intriguing storyline. Zach, what was your most intriguing storyline this week?
Most intriguing storyline's got to be the fact that the Eagles are what's going on with them? They've lost now 5 of their last 6, and they did it against the easiest remaining schedule in the league after they started 10-1. They were losing the Cardinals big, or not big, but you lose to a bad Cardinals team last week, and you just don't look like you belong on the same field with the Giants yesterday. Not only that, A.J. Brown gets hurt. The defense plays terrible. It's just this team was 10-1, but it kind of felt like fool's gold a little bit, and Justin deserves full credit on this because he was kind of all over this from the very beginning. And maybe this is closer to what the Eagles actually are as opposed to the team that started 10-1. And right now, I'm not even certain that they're going to go to Tampa and win that game next week.
Yeah, they can't stop anyone on defense. The play calling's terrible. Eagles allowed Giants to gain 272 yards and get in the red zone 5 times in the first half alone. They scored 3. They scored touchdowns on 3 of them. So, they were absolutely explosive. They clearly wanted it more. The Giants wanted it more. Eagles, they had a lot to play for. Cowboys lost. They would have won the division, right? Eagles would have won the division if Cowboys lost. I'm 95% sure. So, yeah, absolutely just bad for the Eagles. Bad look. You said, Zach, A.J. Brown hurt now as well. Jalen Hurts battling that middle finger in his throwing hand, and that's not helping anything either. But like I said, play calling awful, defense awful. And Justin, I'm sure you'll get to a little bit more later too. But In the meantime, my most intriguing storyline, I'm going to go with Puka Nacua. He now holds the rookie record for most receiving yards by a rookie in NFL history. 7-yard catch in the third quarter this Sunday gave the wide receiver 1,473 receiving yards on the year, which that record stood since 1960. So yeah, Puka Nacua, I mean, that's my most intriguing storyline. A lot to look forward to in LA with him going forward. He's going to be absolutely amazing. He's clearly the best non-first round receiver for a rookie in NFL history, and he is now has the case to be the best overall. So yeah, definitely a case for offensive rookie of the year. And he just plays. He's had an amazing season, and now they go into the playoffs with him playing some of his best ball. So that's my most intriguing storyline. Yeah, Puka Nacua holding the rookie record for receiving yards in his rookie season. Justin, what is your most intriguing storyline?
What happened to the Jacksonville Jaguars? They were 8-3, and now they lost the division, and they're out of the playoffs. So what's the case there in Jacksonville? Trevor Lawrence had 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions yesterday for 280 yards, but the Jaguars, not a great finish at all. I thought the Jaguars were one of the best teams in the AFC and really could make a run at the Super Bowl, but look at the way they fell apart. Big concerns in Jacksonville, even with a pretty good roster and a pretty good quarterback in Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence, he doesn't deserve all the blame, of course. His offense lets him down as well. They just don't look good. They look flat-footed. They look anemic. Defense needs a major overhaul for Jacksonville as well. And I'll get to that game a little bit more in my surprise of the week spoiler. But Zach, we'll start with you. What was your surprise of the week? Was it also the Titans?
No, because
Jags?
I picked the Titans to win that game, so
Yep.
it wasn't a surprise to me. The surprise for me was the Giants. I mean, that was just. Again, we thought since the Eagles are playing their starters because they had an opportunity to still win the NFC East because Dallas is still going to have to beat Washington, I figured that the Eagles were going to take care of business. That could be a get-right game for them, and it was anything but. I mean, the Giants just went out and, you never know about the motivation of a team that is completely out of it, but, Tyrod Taylor played well, 297 yards. Saquon had 2 touchdowns. Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, they played well. Giants have shown something that in the back half of the season. I know it's 6-11, but the way that they started the year versus the way they finished the year, I think Brian Dable's got to feel decent about his team going into next year.
For sure. Yeah, no, I mean, we talked about it on last episode too. Just the turnaround, the second half of the season for the Giants was insane, especially considering the fact that they really had no QB for, most of the season. It really was a good coaching job by Dable. Surprise of the week, already said it, Titans over the Jags. Derrick Henry played absolutely amazing. I think he had, 153 yards on the day. I think 153 rushing yards. With that effort on Sunday, he surpassed Earl Campbell for the most 100-yard rushing games in franchise history. Of course, the Titans' short history that they have. So, yeah, I mean, that was just absolutely amazing game by the running attack by the Titans. And, shout out to Mike Rabel, getting his team ready to play, getting his team ready to show out in the last game of the season, give the Jags a run for their money. And we talked about it already. I mean, the Jags completely fell apart. They were practically a shoe to win the AFC South after a 8-3 start. And now they're just out of the playoffs, and heading in the next season has to be a bigger point of emphasis for the Jags to improve their secondary. I mean, running game was explosive for the Titans, and their passing game was explosive as well. Like I said, their secondary is just completely banged up, and it's been not banged up, but just they don't have the guys to really cover the talent in the NFL, and that needs to be a big, big point of concern going into next year because, I mean, passing against the Jags has just looked like butter all season long, and so that needs to be definitely tightened up.
They couldn't run the ball either. The Jags couldn't run the ball. That's been an issue for them second half of the year. Trevor Lawrence keeps getting hurt because his offensive line's not very good. I mean, it all fell apart.
Yeah, no, definitely fell apart in offensive line. And like you said, Zach, another big point as well for the Jags. Shootout of the week. Or I'm sorry, Justin, what is your surprise?
I'm going Giants over the Eagles. That is a very big surprise. Not just a very big surprise for me, but the way the Philadelphia Eagles have played since they have been 10-1 is not great at all. And this is a team that's broken going into the playoffs at 11-6. But the surprise of the game is that the Giants were up 24-0, even with Jalen Hurts in the game. And the only 10 points were in the second half by Marcus Mariota when he was quarterbacking for the Eagles. This is a big problem here, and there could be some major changes if they lose in the first round. That's the Eagles. And I think there's definitely could be coaching changes. Maybe Sirianni goes if they play this way, or maybe not. Maybe
I don't
not.
think he's gone after this year. I think his seat might be a little warmer going into next year.
Mm-hmm. But new coordinators are probably coming in at the end if they
happened.
lose in the first round.
Yep, I think it's happening regardless.
Mm-hmm.
They can't tackle. Eagles can't tackle in the forefront, middle of the field, wide open. Offense without A.J. Brown. They don't have offense without A.J. Brown. I think when he got injured this game, they went 1-7 on third down and 7 of 17 throwing the ball.
That's
so
right.
that was with 2 interceptions as well, I think, even too, once Brown went down. So yeah, they have a lot of things to fix. I was going to ask you, and it sounds like you guys just gave your answers, but what if he loses in the first round of the playoffs? Do you think Sirianni is still safe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just went to the Super Bowl last year. I think he'd get a little more of a leash.
Yeah, true. Shootout of the week. Zach, what is your shootout of the week?
Nothing really stands out as far as a shootout, but I'll give you a game that felt like a shootout, and that was the Lions and the Vikings. And I wonder if Dan Campbell maybe regrets playing his starters the whole game because Sam Laporte is hurt, and we don't know if he's going to be available next week. But Jared Goff, 320 yards and 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, another big game. Seems like he has 100 yards every single week. Justin Jefferson loves playing up in Detroit. 12 catches, 192 yards. This is a Viking offense that they're going to wonder, what if we had Kirk Cousins? And I think if they had Kirk Cousins, I think this team would be in the playoffs right now because they're pretty solid just about everywhere else. But this is an exciting game. And the Vikings were able to come back in the second half and make it competitive. That's the shootout of the week.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Kirk Cousins down, obviously, but what happened to their defense? I mean, their defense was really good this year, too, in the last couple of games. I mean, I know they probably throw in the towel a little bit, but even the defense was kind of depleted without, their offense playing to snuff. Of course, offense not playing well, defense will be on the field more, get tired. That's going to show up on the field, and it clearly has the last couple of games for the Vikings, just getting blown out. And, yeah, tough season overall for the Vikings fans. My shootout of the week, I'm going to go with the Saints and Falcons. Saints fans have to be asking where this offense was all year. I mean, Carr passed 4 touchdowns, and, both teams missed out on a chance to win the division because Tampa Bay, of course, beat Carolina. But there's definitely some games, with that being considered, that Saints fans definitely want to, have back earlier in the year because with this offense, they look like a playoff team on Sunday, excuse me. And like I said, the Saints fans just have to be asking where this offense was all year. The Falcons actually looked pretty competitive for once. Desmond Ridder started the game hot. He completed his first 5 passes of the game, 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. He helped the Falcons race to that early 14-7 lead. But of course, the Saints did wake up. They were able to come back. And like I said, just explosive offense for the Saints all game. And like I said, if you're a Saints fan, you have to be shaking your head, wondering where this offense was all year. And definitely wanting to get a couple of games earlier in the season that you should have won, to have a chance to go to the playoffs now. Justin, what is your shootout?
I'm actually going to go with the Browns and Bengals. Not the highest scoring game, but definitely was good enough for a shootout. The Bengals winning 31-14. A lot of backups in the game for the Bengals, but they they finished over 500, and they had that record that I was mentioning about on Off the Map on Friday with every team in the division in the AFC North finishing over 500. That's probably the best division in football this year and probably for the next couple years.
Yeah. Jamar Chase in that game, 100 receptions. He played really well. Jeff Driscoll becomes 5th QB to play for the Browns this season, though, however. That was pretty insane. I mean, of course, Flacco's not hurt. He was just resting. Right. But still, I mean, that just sounds like it's every single year for the Browns. They have 5 quarterbacks coming in play, and it's just never, ever ending for the team and really, really hard for Browns fans. But a lot to look forward to going into the playoffs. Who do they play? Who do they actually play? I'm trying to think of who they play in the first. What's up?
What team? Who does who play?
Texans.
Browns.
Browns and Texans.
Browns.
Yeah.
The
Yep,
Texans.
that's the first game on
Okay.
Saturday.
That's gonna be a good
Yep.
game for sure. That's gonna be really.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're all. Yeah, I mean, really, all of them are gonna be good games at this point. Obviously, we're in the playoffs. Sorry, snoozer of the week. Zach, what was your snoozer of
Bucks
the week?
Panthers 9-0. Do I need to say much more?
Yeah, that's mine too.
Mine too.
Bucks. Yeah, I mean, struggled on offense to find a rhythm all game. The Bucks did. Baker Mayfield has been playing really well,
Yes.
though, just not this game. I think with this win, I think he had an incentive in his contract that he won $1 million by making the playoffs. So good for Baker Mayfield. Got that $1 million paycheck with going to the playoffs now, sending the Bucks to the playoffs.
Mhm.
They will play the Eagles. I know that. I think that's Monday
Monday
night.
night game.
Mayfield gained 137 yards on 20 completions. And yeah, just Panthers, of course, they didn't do anything. They got shut out again. How many times have the Panthers been shut out this year?
They've
It has to be
never
3 times,
yeah,
right?
and here's another stat for you. They never had the lead at any point in the fourth quarter. Their only 2 wins were on last-second field goals. So they never ran a play from scrimmage in the fourth quarter that they had a lead.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So last year they got blown out, or last week Jaguars blew them out. Bucks blew them out. I feel like they definitely got blown out another time this year too.
I've been
Look at the
blown out more
schedule.
than a few times.
Yeah, no, it's it's a rough. We don't have to keep saying that, but it's a dumpster fire for sure.
Just a
They
bit.
need to figure out things fast. It's going to take a long time too, though.
They
It's
beat the
it's not going to happen
Texans
overnight.
somehow.
Yeah, it was a weird. Yeah, who was 2 wins, right? Who was the other one?
Atlanta.
Falcons.
Yeah, he beat the
Yeah.
Falcons on a last-second field goal, like 9-7, I think it was.
Yeah. Panthers fans at this point are just happy the season's
Oh,
over.
yeah.
Despite being the first team to hire their offensive-minded head coach and draft their franchise quarterback this offseason, historic low at this point.
And what makes it worse is
Panther-
they get nothing for it because they don't get their number 1 pick because they traded it.
Yeah. Yep. Panthers are now the only the second franchise with multiple 15-loss campaigns, the first team to be shut out in back-to-back games since 2008, and the only team to finish a full season without having a single lead in the fourth quarter, like you said, Zach. And yeah, just absolute just miserable play. Bryce Young, what do you think they do with Bryce Young next year? And they'll have, I don't know exactly what it is, but they'll still have they don't have a first-round draft pick. That's right. They don't have a first-round draft pick. I don't know what they do with Bryce Young next year.
Well, they're going to play him.
It's abysmal.
Yeah, they're going to play him next year. I mean, you're not going to give up on a guy after 1 year in general, but they got to get him some weapons. They got to get him some offensive linemen. They got to get some people to help out. But, I mean, some of the tendencies you saw out of Bryce Young, I'm just not sure that he's the answer long-term because I know a lot of short quarterbacks have succeeded before, but none of them seem to play as short as Bryce Young does.
Yeah. I don't know if it was bad offense or good defense for the Bucks in this game. Bucks
Yes.
only allowed 68 passing yards. Both. Yeah, really both. Fewest by a Tampa Bay opponent since the Panthers had only 55 through the air in 2009. So
Right.
they beat their own record when they played the Panthers. What is that, like 14 years ago, 15 years ago? Yeah, Bryce Young, like you said, he needs an offensive line badly. Franchise record after Sunday in sacks at 62. He was sacked 3 times on Sunday alone. Yeah, I mean, it's just figure things out fast. It's going to take, 3-4 years, but fans need something for sure. Justin, anything else you want to say for this game? I know it was your snoozer as well, you said.
Yeah, just 9-0. Not much to say. I mean, could have been more. I mean, it could have been more scoring, but at the same time, I mean, better team won in the Bucks, and they won at 9-0.
Other games, Steelers, Ravens. I don't think we touched base on this game. Meant a lot for the Steelers. Didn't mean anything for the Ravens, of course.
That's right.
Najee Harris had a little bit of a resurgence. 26 carries, 112 yards. So Najee Harris, good to see him back. Had a touchdown as well. Yeah, I don't really have much else on this game. Ravens, of course, the biggest storyline for the Ravens. They escaped a very, very ugly game with no injuries, which is super important, of course.
The Steelers,
That's-
unfortunately, did not because TJ Watt had hurt his
Mhm.
MCL. They don't know if he's going to be able to play next week. And let's just go ahead and say if he doesn't play against the Bills, they really don't have much of a chance.
Yep. it's I don't think. I mean, you can't play on an MCL, right? He'll
Depends
be out the
on
whole season.
grades on the grade of the sprain. It's possible,
Yeah.
but it's probably unlikely.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, obviously wouldn't be 100%.
course.
And I keep hearing back and forth between a grade 2 and a grade 3. I don't really know if they know what it is yet.
They said
I don't know
grade
if it's
2.
possible not. Grade
Yeah.
2. Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, maybe if not, if not Saturday, right? They play Saturday.
Yeah.
I think,
no.
Whenever this
no,
weekend,
they play
whatever.
Sunday.
Yeah, if not this weekend, maybe second round if they play in the second round, if they get that far. Only other takeaway from this game, Clowney, Jadeveon Clowney, needed just half a sack to reach 9 on the year and earn that additional $750,000 bonus. Final drive of the second quarter, he notched it, got that bonus, and absolutely good for Jadeveon
Clowney.
Jadeveon, thank you. Can't say his name. Jadeveon Clowney getting that bonus, $750. Good for him. Texans Colts, we already touched on that. Texans Colts, Browns Bengals, I think we touched on as well. Vikings Lions, we touched on. Jets Patriots, we don't need to touch on. I don't think. Belichick might have been his last game with the Patriots. We already know that. Bryce Hall looked solid. Looking to build on that next year as a backup for Aaron Rodgers. And New England had -7 yards of offense and failed to convert a single first down. So absolutely terrible. Both teams terrible. Only storyline on this game is, of course, Belichick potentially being his last game. Bears Packers. I don't think we actually touched on the Bears Packers at all. Running makes the difference. The running game made the difference in this game. One quarterback had a running game and the other didn't, and no surprise, the one that did ended up coming out on top. The Packers' near perfect offense balance led to big days for both Love and Jones. Love had a stellar protection all game that allowed him to make really complete passes to multiple different teammates. The whole team, the whole receiving core with the tight ends, had field days against the Bears defense on Sunday. And Jordan Love, man, he started out the season really, really poor, really, really slow. But these last, second half of the season, he's turning some heads, and he might be not just the guy in the Packers organization, but he might be the guy that might be one of the best, a top 5 quarterback come a year or two.
It's entirely possible. I mean, 27 of 32, 316, 2 touchdowns, finished second in the NFL in touchdown passes this year, which I don't think anybody would have seen coming. And he's doing this with Jaden Reed, Bo Melton, Dontavian Wicks, who. I mean, he's not exactly playing with Devontae Adams or an elite wide receiver, and he's still managing to get the most out of these guys. And now they finally have a running game with Aaron Jones. So, I mean, the fact that Jordan Love was able to basically, I don't want to say single-handedly carry this team to the playoffs because the defense is pretty good, but the fact that he and Matt LaFleur made it work, I wonder if in the future maybe some teams will actually consider sitting quarterbacks for a year or two, because this is now back-to-back quarterbacks for the Packers, Rodgers and Love, that sat for 3 years, and they were ready to play right away.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, the Bears not being able to run the ball was just massive. That it really, really hurt them. Jordan Love couldn't run the ball. Justin Fields really couldn't run the ball for his standards either. And, the passing was what really won this game, like you just said, Zach, and really helped the Packers clinch that playoff berth. And, they will be on to the playoffs. And I think, who do they play the first round? I think they
Dallas.
play it is Dallas. That's right. Yeah, it would be Dallas. Yeah, well, that'll be also a good game. I mean, like I said, they're all going to be good games. Seahawks, Cardinals. I don't know. Geno played pretty well. Second straight season under center for the Seahawks by setting an NFL record in the process. Tyler Lockett played pretty well. 2-point conversion. That obviously brought them up as well. So, I don't really have much else to play for this. I mean, Cardinals were way out of the playoffs. Seahawks, of course, weren't able to clinch that playoff berth as well. I forget exactly what the Seahawks needed.
Just the Bears to beat the Packers.
That's it. That's all they needed. And then win, of course, which didn't happen. Broncos, Raiders. Young core for the Raiders showed out. Aiden O'Connell played really, really well. Samir White, he also shined, rushing 112 yards with 25 carries. Very similar stat line, actually, to Najee Harris on the Steelers. He might be a permanent starter for the Raiders. Samir White played really well, not just on Sunday, but all year long. Antonio Pierce deserves a coaching job next season, in my opinion. I think he definitely does. I don't know if he will. There'll be a lot of names like Belichick, of course, Rabel, maybe even Hardball coming up in the Raps as well. I don't know if Antonio Pierce will secure a head coaching spot, but definitely secured a strong assistant or even a coordinator position on a team, if not the Raiders. Broncos have absolutely no answer at QB. That's my only other point. Obviously, Wilson will be out this year. He's not going to stay in Denver, and without Wilson, they have absolutely no answer at quarterback. So that's going to be something that they have to figure out dramatically going into next year, because it's going to be very, very ugly if this team cannot find a quarterback under center, as we saw the last couple weeks with Stridham, Jarrett Stridham. Eagles Giants, we got into that at length for sure. Cowboys Commanders, I don't really know. There's nothing else to really. I don't even know if we touched base on this or not. But Cowboys, dominated the Commanders. 4 touchdowns for Dak Prescott. They're flying on all cylinders, leading into the playoffs. Very scary team, leading into the playoffs. The Cowboys are, and Commanders, of course, we heard on Monday, are parting ways with Rivera.
Also,
Finally,
19th straight NFC East title that wasn't back-to-back years.
Yep.
So everybody's had, there hasn't been an NFC East winner since the Eagles in 03 and 04 that has repeated. So this is the 19th straight year that this has happened.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas outperformed the Commanders by a wide margin, pretty much on everything. First downs, 31 first downs to the Commanders' 12. Total yards, Cowboys had 440 compared to the Commanders' 180. Turnover margin, 3 takeaways to 1, and they just absolutely dominated on time of possession as well. Cowboys having the ball for about 36 minutes of the game. Yeah, just not a surprise by any means, and just dominated the Commanders. And what we thought would happen, and it happened. And Rivera is out of Washington now, and it'll be interesting to see who takes that vacant head coaching spot. Like I said, a lot of names coming up next year that will be looking for jobs in the NFL, coaching jobs. New week's resolutions. Let's move on to that. Zach, who is your new week's resolution?
My new week's resolution is the fact that, we need to. It's interesting how people are talking about CJ Stroud now, as far as how many quarterbacks would we take over CJ Stroud. And I don't think the answer is many. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. I don't really know. Lamar. That might be it. That might be it. CJ might be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL that you want for the next decade or so. And I know everybody talked about Trevor Lawrence being a generational quarterback. Trevor Lawrence has been a good quarterback, but I don't think Trevor Lawrence has been generational or anything like that. CJ Stroud, I think, would have won the MVP this year if he'd played in his other 2 games. He's been that good. He should be the runaway offensive rookie of the year. So I think we got to just start giving CJ his flowers and not just start looking at him as, he had a great year for a rookie. No, he's just one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Drop the rookie tag aside.
Yeah, something about him too is just, it doesn't seem like a fluke. I mean, he's just so calm, so poised. You just watch him play and, watch him in interviews. You just get very confident with him. And like I said, it's not a fluke. He's going to definitely be back, play in the playoffs, obviously, but then even next year, he's going to be back playing as, just as well as he did this year, because like I said, he definitely shows confidence and he definitely shows consistent play as well. My new week's resolution, Lakers, the fans in Los Angeles, that might be all they celebrate this year is the in-season tournament. It seems like that's all they really will get to enjoy. Lakers have been absolutely terrible. Currently number 10 in the West and barely hanging on to that spot. Warriors, I think, are going to get a lot better once Draymond Green comes back. The Grizzlies will get better. So I can definitely see the Lakers being out of the playoffs, not even play in this year, but just out of the playoffs in general. So my new week's resolution for the Lakers is just to completely clean house, get rid of Darvin Ham, get rid of Rob Pelinka, because it's not working. LeBron getting older, of course, they can't substitute. They leave players in way too long. One of the worst offenses in the NBA when they have just too many stars to have that bad offense. So yeah, that's my new week's resolution. Clean house of the Lakers. And I don't know, tank, do something, get draft picks. Because they need to do something, and LeBron might only have a year or two left. And they're going to be in trouble once he leaves, and need to find a solution for the next coming years to be back to the Lakers winning ways. Justin, what is your new week's resolution?
I'm going to go with the Saints here and Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen, with the fake kneel down controversy yesterday against the Falcons, which was a big win for the Saints, but Dennis Allen kind of screwed it up. But not an impressive tenure so far in New Orleans. 2 years with Derek Carr, with a pretty good Saints roster. Still went 9-8, didn't win the division or get the wild card. So if I'm the Saints, maybe I think about moving on from Dennis Allen.
I would. And by the way, can we just say this? This is the National Football League. If you're worried about people running the score up, you get paid to stop them. Quit your whining. This isn't high school. This isn't even college football. These are guys making millions of dollars. Stop them. If you can't stop them, then that's a you problem.
Yeah. Arthur Smith, of course, got upset at the end of the game there because of that. But I agree. It's not just play better defense at that point.
Yeah.
Arthur Smith, hey, maybe he'll end up on the Saints next year.
Who knows?
That's why he apologized. That's what everyone's saying. That's why he apologized after quickly, because hey, he might need a job next year. All right, moving on. Okay, let's finish up with our intake and outtakes of the week. Justin, we'll start with you. What is your intake?
My intake of the week is the Miami Dolphins. They are not AFC playoff contenders, and losing the AFC East to the Buffalo Bills and losing that game on Sunday night the way they did, not a good playoff contender. They could beat the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the one thing I'll say. I will give them a chance in that game because Kansas City might be heading towards a first-round exit as well. But the Dolphins maybe are at best a second-round exit, not an AFC championship team or a contender. So
bad news for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Weather.
Yeah.
You see what the temperature is going to be?
No.
They said the high on Saturday, which is when the game's going to be played, is 12. And it's in prime time.
Nice.
Not great for a Florida-based team.
Well, the good news is it'll be so cold it won't snow. It'll be too cold to snow.
Right.
So that's at least good for something to look forward to. At least, I mean, yeah, it can't. If it gets too cold, it can't snow. So I won't have to deal with that at least. My intake of the week: the Commanders bringing in, of course, getting rid of Ron Rivera, but shortly after that, news came out that they are bringing in Bob Myers and former Minnesota Vikings GM Rick Spielman to help with the head coaching search. So I love this. I love this by by Harris and his group. Of course, Magic Johnson, David Blitzer, Mitch Rates, of the ownership of the Commanders. Yeah, bringing in Bob Myers and Rick Spielman to help with the head coaching search. I love it. I absolutely love it. And Harris and his group clearly trying to change the landscape of football in Washington next season. Also shows being as careful as possible and giving away his control for valuable insight into building a team. Absolutely awesome. Pretty much the opposite of the Panthers. And, the Commanders definitely want to change things going down the line and want a team effort and bringing in some people that he knows are way more knowledgeable than he is and helping with that head coaching search. And hopefully the Commanders can find who they need, get back to winning ways. Well, I guess they never really were in winning ways, but at least give their fans a 500 season, if not make the playoffs. Justin, Zach, what is your intake of
the week? Jordan Love is a franchise quarterback, and I think he's got a chance to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL moving forward. And I think next year when we talk about the best quarterbacks in the NFC, I don't know if he's going to rank outside the top 5 because what he did this year with basically no receivers, banged up running game, to have 32 touchdown passes, not a lot of turnovers, I think only 11 on the entire year. But most importantly, his last 5 games when the Packers needed him, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's played well on big stages, goes to Detroit on Thanksgiving and dominates against the Lions, beats the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes head-to-head on a Sunday night. And then the last 2 games against the Vikings on the road on Sunday night, needing to win that to stay alive, 3 touchdown passes and a touchdown run. And then yesterday, only 5 incompletions in a win-and-in game. Jordan Love has all the tools, it looks like, to be a star franchise quarterback. And once again, the Packers seem to have found gold.
Yeah, and they're comparing him to Patrick Mahomes just in how he plays, and obviously that would be amazing for Packers fans if he can turn out to be a Patrick Mahomes. And I'm excited to see him play. We said it earlier in the show, had the start of the season pretty ugly for the Packers and Jordan Love, but being able to kind of turn things around second half of the season shows his maturity and shows that, this isn't a fluke, that he's definitely going to be back next year playing as good as ever. And I'm excited to see how he can do, down the line, down his career, and what he turned out to be. Outtakes of the week. Justin, what is your outtake of the week?
My outtake of the week is Mike Tomlin for the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. Every season, he has a 500 or better winning percentage through his 17 seasons. The Steelers making the playoffs with Mason Rudolph at quarterback for the Steelers. And for Tomlin, he's earned another year in Pittsburgh and possibly the future. Even I was one of the people saying Mike Tomlin should get fired or traded by the Steelers if he missed the playoffs and had a 500 or below season. But he is 10-7 and heading into the playoffs with Mason Rudolph as his quarterback. So Tomlin has earned the right to be the Steelers head coach.
My outtake of the week, Jim Harbaugh saying that people in the media, people even in the athletics at a university should be taking pay cuts to pay the student athletes. Great on paper, obviously a good-hearted statement, but the problem is Jim Harbaugh makes millions, and other people in the media, other people in the athletic staff don't make millions, so they're not going to want to be giving up 5 or 10% of their paycheck to go to the student athletes. Like I said, awesome on paper, good initiative, and good thinking overall, but there's definitely going to be a lot of people on the bottom of the pecking order that are not going to like that initiative. And so that's my outtake of the week, taking percentages out of, people that don't make millions of money a year, like Jim Harbaugh, to pay the student athletes, something that I don't think is going to really work out long term, and something that I don't think the NCAA is going to go for.
And something Harbaugh won't have to deal with because he'll be in the NFL next year. That's
also very true. So, yeah, something that he's not going to have to deal with, either. Not even if he would, he could afford it if he did stay in college. But yeah, good point, Zach. He won't even he won't be here next year, most likely.
Yeah.
What is your outtake, Zach?
So I talked about the current Packer quarterback for the intake. I'm going to the old Packer quarterback for the outtake, and that's Aaron Rodgers. He talked about if we want to be a winning organization, put yourself in position to win championships and be competitive, everything you do matters. And we need to flush the BS that has nothing to do with winning. We're all looking for the guy who did this. There's somebody that goes on the Pat McAfee show every week and has controversial statements. Is there a guy that, talked about potentially coming back after tearing his Achilles and kind of holding the Jets a little bit hostage? Who was that again? Was that anybody? Oh, yeah, it was Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. So, I mean, look, I'm an Aaron Rodgers defender for the most part, but the lack of self-awareness here is just mind-boggling.
Yeah. No, I don't know if he does it intentionally or not, but he definitely is very good at making headlines for sure. He knows how to make the headlines and, be in the news a lot for what he says. And like I said, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but whatever he's doing, it's working. All right, good show, guys. We'll be back on Thursday. Awesome show. We'll, break down everything that's happening, maybe even get ready for next week of NFL, but we'll see. We'll break it all down then. I'm sure a lot will happen from now until Thursday. Maybe more coach firings. We'll see. But whatever it is, we'll keep you up to date, and we'll see you Thursday. Until then, keep on traveling.